Good morning. Paul asked me to give a testimony on prayer in my life, and I'm 73 years old, so um, the testimony is probably a long one, but he asked me to do it in 3 to 5 minutes, so I'll cut it short. That gives me about 20 years per minute, I guess. The first 40 years of my life, I didn't have a prayer life. I knew the Lord. I knew that He was out there, and I knew that He was looking after me, and I believed in Him. But I couldn't hear Him, and so we didn't talk too much. And then at the age of 40, all of that changed. I went on a weekend retreat, walked to Emmaus, and it was there that I learned about the love of God, and my heart was opened. And then about 2 weeks later, I went to a conference on the Holy Spirit down at Cathedral. And it was there that I learned about the power of God. And my life has not been the same since that experience at the age of 40. Those experiences did two things for me. First, through the prayers of others at those events, I came to know God. Not someone that's out there, but someone that's with me. And that personal experience led to the conference on the Holy Spirit and the baptism of the Holy Spirit. And now I know what God's telling me. He's directing my life, and He's telling me what to do, and it's not been the same for these last 33 years. I'd like to talk a little bit about the power of God. John is doing a wonderful job of teaching us about prayer and how to pray in our lives and things to pray for and who to pray for and how to pray for it. But I found in my life that prayer is the key that unlocks the will of God and unlocks the power of God. And it's not my will, it's His will. I've prayed prayers that have not been answered, and they've not been answered because they weren't in the will of God. And generally those prayers were for others, for people that were not well, people that were dying, family members, and it was their time to go. And so my prayer in those cases was not answered. But I've seen prayers that have resulted in healing. I'll tell you about one experience. We had a group that put together conferences on the Holy Spirit, and we put together one that occurred in a horse barn up in Salmon, Idaho, which is a funny place to have a conference on the Holy Spirit. But let me tell you about the people that were involved in that. One of the speakers was a lady by the name of Heidi Baker, and Heidi runs an orphanage with her husband in Africa. And they depend on prayer just for food and for survival and to take care of all of those kids. And Lord put it on the group's heart to pray for Heidi, to invite her to that conference. And so she came. She wasn't sure why. We had a family friend, his name was Chris, who was a young man over in Seattle working. And Chris had a girlfriend in North Carolina that had lungs that weren't working. And she was a sick little girl. And she came to the conference with Chris. And at that conference, Heidi prayed for Chris's girlfriend, and her lungs were healed as a result of that. And so God put all that together. He brought Heidi from Africa, He brought Chris from Seattle, and He brought Chris's girlfriend from North Carolina. And He put all of that together as a result of prayer. And I've seen prayers answered for things in my life. Not only work and family, but just everyday things. And so I think my 3 minutes are up, but my life has changed over these last 33 years as a result of prayer. It's a result of that conference on the Holy Spirit a long time ago, because I know God now. He's not out there, He's with me. And He's telling me what to do. John and I have discussed something that we would like to offer to the church, and that's a teaching on the baptism of the Holy Spirit. And John will make that offering to the church, and it'll occur at the end of February. It'll be a 2-hour class, and I'll cover in more detail my experience with the baptism of the Holy Spirit. And it's changed my life, and I think it'll change your lives too. I hope you can come. Thank you.